Listen now to a reading from the Holy Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ according to Luke. On the way to Jerusalem, Jesus was going through the region between Samaria and Galilee. As he entered a village, 10 lepers approached him. Keeping their distance, they called out, saying, "Jesus, Master, have mercy on us." And when he saw them, he said to them, "Go and show yourselves to the priests." And as they went, they were made clean. Then one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, praising God with a loud voice. He prostrated himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him. And he was a Samaritan. Then Jesus asked, "Were not 10 made clean? But the other 9, where are they? Was none of them found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner?" Then he said to him, "Get up and go on your way. Your faith has made you well." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
Please be seated for a moment. As we celebrate this Eucharist in honor of our Thanksgiving holiday, the Church has chosen particular lessons that focus on various aspects of our willingness and our urge to give thanks. That in reality, what our minds are directed to is the fact that little bit of a phrase that we often use at the offertory when we celebrate, "All things come of thee, O God, and of thine own have we given thee." That's ultimately what our Christian view of thanksgiving needs to be. That really God, the creator of all, visible and invisible, is the one who is the giver of every good gift. And anything that we have or possess, even our own bodies, our own selves, are themselves a gift from God. That means, too, that we are called to be stewards, that we are called to take care of what we have been given as a steward takes care of his master's property. We've heard several stories about that recently in our Sunday liturgies. But in reality, we have yet another story today from Luke's Gospel that talks about healing from leprosy, which was very common in the time of Jesus. Lepers in the time of Jesus were considered to be outcasts. That was true because even then they understood the only way to keep the disease from spreading was to isolate people who had the disease. What was terribly unfortunate from our modern perspective is that often people were considered to be lepers who didn't have that disease at all. That often if you had a sort of rash on your skin, that was considered to be leprosy. And you were shunned by the community and pushed out to the margins of society. And quite frequently, those who did actually have the disease then spread it to others. And it was a very unfortunate situation. However, because it was something that sometimes did go away, the skin conditions that we often have even today, there was provision in the law of Moses for people who recovered. They were to go to the priests and show themselves. And in that way, it was the priests of the temple, the officials really, the legislative and legal officials of the day, who would then declare that you had been made clean and you could rejoin your family and friends and your community. So when Jesus sees these 10, he bids them to go to the priest, to show themselves to the priests. And, as Luke tells us, on the way they realized that they had been healed, regardless of what their disease might have been. However, only one returns to Jesus. Now, we may consider the other 9 to be ingrates for what Jesus has done for them. But in reality, they're doing exactly what Jesus said. Go show yourselves to the priest so you can be rejoined to your family and friends. probably because the other 9 were observant Jewish people. This is exactly what they would do. But the Samaritan was different. He was already an outsider. He was not accepted by the priests of the temple. He was not accepted by other Jewish folk in the region. And so the only place that he had to go to give thanks was back to the source of his healing, Jesus. And maybe that's the lesson for us as we began our reflection by saying, all things come from thee, O God. What we need to do is realize where these things, our health, our healing, even the things that we possess, that they all come from God. And the only way truly to give thanks is to go back to the source, to go back to the one who is the source of all things. Maybe that's the lesson we can take from this particular reading. Not so much about the apparent ingratitude of the 9, but the fact that this one, the outsider, was the one who realized that Jesus was the source of his healing. And it was to Jesus that he went. For us then, we can take the lesson that when we want to give thanks, something that is really sort of baked into our nature as humans, that we really go to the source. We go to the right place, and that is God. Let us give thanks then this day by not only recognizing the blessings that we have received, regardless of how we receive them or in what form, but realize again that every good gift we have comes from God. And to give thanks to God for all that we are and all that we have.